Welcome back to the Dossier Project. If you get a chance, please like, subscribe, and afterwards comment on this video. Today, we wanted to talk about some current events. And one of the breaking news headlines we've seen recently has to do with P Diddy and the FBI raid. I guess they raided two of his houses. And then there's all these sort of ongoing civil lawsuits against him. And there's words being thrown around in the headlines in the news, at least that I've seen, of sex trafficking, and I think there's like some pretty serious stuff. So we wanted to get together and talk about it, about what's out there, what impressions we have, and also just try to work our way through the news a little bit and through the outrage and the scandal to try and understand the actual news of what's happening and apply some critical thinking, because this is a very serious accusation, allegation, suggestion, and should be treated as such. So I'll just open it. I don't know a ton about it, just really have seen headlines. I think maybe I've read one article on it, but my impression is just like, whoa, big deal, big problem, been going on for years. I think I saw something about Prince Harry is involved, like, which I am highly skeptical of that. That seems like a very catchy headline and probably not terribly backed up, but I didn't look into it. I wasn't interested enough to go down that rabbit hole. But does anybody have other impressions they would like to share, or even facts that they know of that they'd share?
I mean, like you, I don't know a ton. I was just, it was just, yeah, like the headlines are always so impactful in a way, and yeah, I think he's being accused of exactly like sex trafficking, and to me, what was interesting is that it's happening now. I mean, I'm not sure why exactly, like if it's that someone came forward and that's how they raided his home, but I just don't understand. It seems like he's been, from what I read, it seems like he had a certain type of life, uh, but from a long time ago. Like it's not new. He's a rapper. He's like, it's not that I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, I think, is like it was a little surprising to me that the FBI got involved into this and that they threw the sex trafficking banner, because that catches a lot of eyes. So I'm not sure what's going on.
I find it very interesting because, I think like 5 years ago or 10 years ago or something, sex trafficking to me meant like I had a certain image with it, like it was brothels and very like underground and kind of dark and sinister. And I think in the last 5 years, especially, I think we're kind of the Nexium case and everything that's happened with it contributed to it. But like I feel like since the whole Nexium sex cult and sex trafficking thing has going on in the last 5 years, this word sex trafficking gets thrown around a lot for a lot of people. Where Andrew Tate, I think, there's it's interesting that this word sex trafficking has become so normal, with and also with celebrities or like with people that are established and legitimate, like before sex trafficking was like dark mafia and I don't know, kind of nobodies that you don't know, and now all of a sudden they're accusing celebrities and people that we know about it. So and I think, like, what does even sex trafficking mean is what I think about then. Like, what exactly does that mean? And for me, P Diddy, I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I don't really know much about the story or anything like that. But to me, his whole image as a rapper and hip hop and everything, it's like there's a lot of sexualization and sexuality around that, and the videos, and the girls shaking their ass, and there's a lot of I don't know, that the whole persona, the whole character, his whole image, I feel is like built up around that. And even if he's having these parties where they're doing different things, it seems very like they're adults who are choosing to go to these parties, and there's certain things happening there, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I just, those are some kind of thoughts that I have about it.
I guess, yeah, have just even hearing the charges, sex trafficking is shocking. So I think that's where, and then you combine that with the celebrity, it's like salacious, right? Um, and it's not like I really look or want to like, consume media like that, but it's almost like it's just the double salaciousness of it. You're just like, okay, what happened? And I'm trying to just skim through like what actually happened. Like, was he arrested? Did someone, like what were, just even trying to figure out what the facts were, is challenging. And even if I were to do more research, it's kind of like, well, just because there's multiple sources saying things, they kind of are just regurgitating, things, and that sheer volume, it doesn't make anything more or less credible, really, because they're just kind of repeating a lot of the same things. So that's where sometimes when people, well, I've done the research, I'm like, well, like research, and now in the day and age is, anyone with a blog and a internet connection or whatever can post anything on social media, and no kind of standards, objectivity, no sourcing, he said, she said. And it just reminds me, it's already tainted. Like image of P Diddy, I used to work in the music industry. That's kind of par norm, kind of that lifestyle. It's not for the most, wholesome industry. So, not surprisingly, money, sex, drugs, or whatever, it's that kind of lifestyle, and that's not a big secret. And the flip side is, though, that now anyone associated, what Leah was saying, anyone who was friends with or associated with him is now being also under, just being just even showing a picture. Sahaja, you shared a picture of him and Ashton Kutcher, and it's just like showing Ashton Kutcher with, if you're friends with anyone who's remotely associated, then what kind of a system is that? Trial by media, but then also guilt by association. That's a problem, I think.
Yeah, I think that's why I really want to hold like a high degree of skepticism when I see these things, just because, not with any personal allegiance to any particular person who's being accused, but it's so damaging to just paint someone with this horrible image, reputation, this crime, when, even I think if we just like looking briefly, he hasn't been arrested. Like, I haven't seen a mugshot. I don't think he's actually been arrested for anything. He's under some civil lawsuits. So there's civil lawsuits alleging he did these horrific things or whatever. And they might even be true. Like, I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't know. But it's so much easier. Like later, should it come to light that these were crimes that were committed, or these things did happen, you can judge later. But it seems safer to me, and just more humane for anyone, that we withhold judgment. We are very skeptical and very careful to be throwing words around, labeling people with these, really horrific behaviors. But that doesn't really sell papers. So there's a bit of a perverse incentive for the media, because I think there are journalists who really care about doing a good job of their work. There's also motivation of the business side, to make money.
Yeah. What came to mind when you were talking about, what sex trafficking is, it's because that is the main thing that's been thrown around, that I've seen, at least in the headlines. And it's like, right, what are we talking about? Like, actually, what are the things that they are calling sex trafficking? Because it is a serious matter, and it is happening consistently currently in our day and age, and these are women who are being held against their will, who are being treated, poorly, to say the least. So it does happen. But when we see things like this, and we've touched on this on, in our past videos, like when things like this happen, throwing that word around, it's almost like taking the weight out of what is actually happening in the world, So sex trafficking is a serious matter, and if someone is doing it, they should be held accountable. But what I've seen from this case is like, it seems very voluntary, and sex trafficking has nothing to do with, I don't know, not wanting to do something, or yes, being forced, but in a very different way. So I think when the media throws these headlines around, it's just almost like normalizing it in a bad way.
Throwing such a word out, it's like, I think as soon as anyone hear, not anyone, but most people that hear or see it, they're like, oh, sex trafficking, that's bad, he's bad, don't, like, must be, like, you can't
Right.
call someone that if it's not happening. Like, that would be like, so it's such a weapon, that can be used to switch off critical thinking from people, switch off questioning, switch off, like, I'm like, okay, so where's the data? Where's the evidence of what actually happened? Like, let's see where the sex trafficking happened, who are the people, and and just as you were talking, Angie, I was thinking, like, with the whole, consent, not consent, agreeing to something, not agreeing, it's such a inner honesty thing for the people. Like, I know I've dated guys that when they asked me out, I wasn't really into them. I wasn't like, but I didn't want to offend them. I didn't want to lose their friendship, whatever. So, like, I got into a relationship with someone that I didn't really want to. Now I can turn around and go, well, I never wanted to. You forced me to, It's such a fine line, the whole consent and not consenting, because like with the P Diddy or with any of these celebrities, I imagine there's a lot of young women, who, like, the groupies, this has been around for decades, where young women go and they know what they're getting into. It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, so to say, and to dismiss that they're grown-ups and then make it like that people are forcing them or taking advantage of them. In some cases it is a fine line. So I think it's the difference again of facts and evidence of the crimes that happen, like what are the things that happen, and then the difference of like feelings and perspectives and opinions and interpretations of things, and I think they get so washed that it's very difficult when any of these kind of stories come out. It's so difficult to really distill what actually happened. What's the crime? Is it true? Is it not? Are people making things up? Are they elaborating? Are they exaggerating? Where are the facts? Where's the data? It becomes very difficult to actually make a informed, opinion, or which anyway, the public shouldn't be. The court case should be. It shouldn't even be up to the public. But anyway.
Is it anything to do with sex now becomes sex trafficking? Like, it just makes it seem so broad, and like anytime anyone, right? And it's really hard, like what you were saying, Sahajo, it's like miscommunication and all these things, like anything that involves sex now is sex trafficking, because of those things that no one can read each other's mind or feelings and so forth. And it's communication or miscommunication a lot. Obviously there are clear cases, but the things that we used to be, it was a very concrete commercialization of selling sex, as a business, and literally keeping people, women or children, physically, unable, like literally, that kind of a situation. And now, is it trafficking when women can go about their lives and do whatever they want? And is it still like just because they might lose privileges, like maybe they don't get the role or the money or other things that, might not, in exchange for anything, in exchange for is considered, commercialization, so forth.
Well, I think it might be
what is dating
good.
then?
It might be good to just like going back to our case, right? And I mean, because of course this touches fibers, and this is why we're talking about this, right? But it might be good to just go back and be like, okay, I don't know that a lot of people know what was called sex trafficking in the Nexium case. And when I learned what was that about, I was like, wait a second, what do you mean this is what they're calling sex trafficking? So I know Linda or Sahajo, you probably both have the most accurate information, because I'm gonna have it like all washed out, because I haven't done it in years. But it wasn't what I thought it was, sex trafficking. So it might be good to just point people what was our situation, if you want to share.
That sounds like
Yeah.
a great topic for another video.
Okay.
I think we should definitely talk about maybe that more in detail, because there's other elements of sex trafficking that we can speak to, not P Diddy, but we can speak to a little bit more NXIVM of what we observed or what we understand from the trial transcripts. So the closest we can get to fact, in the situation. So thank you very much for the conversation. And I think maybe all of us need to go and read a little bit more about P Diddy and try to understand the facts from the drama.
Try to find the facts. Find the facts.
If
Try
we
to find
them,
it. Yeah.
if that's our challenge.
If we find them.
let's find them.
Yeah, and bring them back. Please share. So thanks so much for joining us today. And again, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.